Craig Resnik with the ARC Advisory Group. I'm here at the 30th Annual ARC Advisory Group Orlando Forum. And today we have two special guests. We have Michael Martinez, who's the Open Automation Director at Schneider Electric, and he's responsible for other open automation solutions in the process business. They also have Stan Woody, who's a Business Development Manager from Intel. Welcome, Michael. Welcome, Stan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, one of the things we've experienced at this forum is probably one of the most popular exhibits in our exhibit hall has been this called Foxboro SDA, or Software Defined Automation. Michael, tell us a little bit about what is Foxboro SDA.
Well, I think to understand Foxboro SDA, we really kind of have to go back to where we're coming from. I think historically, if we look at automation technology, it's been very hardware focused. So we would have a specific piece of hardware that was used for control, some for I/O, some for gateways. That meant that if a customer chose to upgrade or expand their system, they were compelled to actually buy another piece of hardware which required a significant amount of infrastructure. So what software-defined automation is all about is decoupling the function or the capabilities that were in those previous components, the controllers, the gateways, the I/O modules, taking the value out of the software and allowing it to run on other different devices. For example, other devices that come from other manufacturers. So Foxboro SDA is all about saying, let's take the value that's in the control system, in the software, in the applications, and in the operator interfaces that we develop, and allow customers to carry that forward, no longer being compelled to change or update their system primarily because of hardware lifecycle. This also gives us the capability to think about now in partnerships with companies like Intel is because we're working in a software environment, what can we leverage that comes from the IT world that maybe enable us to be able to operate more efficiently, to take advantage of the different platforms that we have available, as well as through other partnerships that we have with others, to now be able to run that on other hardware from other manufacturers, from other vendors, and to incorporate inputs, outputs, sensors that are now available on the market.
I mean, obviously, you have a strong ecosystem of partners. But obviously, Intel is a key partner, and it looks like you're a key component of Foxboro SDA. So, Stan, tell us a little bit about Intel's position in Foxboro SDA.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. This has been a really great collaboration with Schneider. And really, it's the perfect timing because, you know, we've just recently at CES launched our Panther Lake product. And this product is one of the most innovative products that I've seen in a long, long time, and really specifically targeted for a lot of the use cases that we see in manufacturing automation. And it gives you the flexibility of P cores and E cores. It gives you the AI with the NPU. You have a GPU and a CPU, so you can have the performance that you need at when you need it. You can have the efficiency that you need when you need it. You can have the AI capabilities when you need them, or the processing capability that you need. So this increases the flexibility in this system that now with Schneider's solution, we're not only just focusing on having a reliable system, we've solved that with their high availability disruption avoidance solution here in their EAE solution. But now we're able to increase all the flexibility of this software-defined solution to increase the capability beyond anything that anybody could ever imagine.
Okay. And Michael, tell us a little bit about, Stan brought up EAE. We'll go into what is EAE.
Absolutely. EcoStruxure Automation Expert is the engine behind Foxboro SDA. It's actually what allows us to be able to work with other hardware, and it gives us the capability to develop those applications that can be deployed on infrastructure such as Foxboro SDA, but others. I think one of the key things, Stan mentioned high availability disruption. This is really a different way of thinking about availability. In the past, when we wanted high availability, we were always thinking about we had to duplicate hardware throughout the infrastructure. But that also meant that to maintain that level of availability, we had to have all these spares on, and they had to be the same exact type of hardware. It also meant that if for some reason you lost one of those controllers, that if you wanted to maintain that level of availability, that this was a call out. And that call out inevitably happens at 2 o'clock in the morning. With the partnership and collaboration with Intel, we're able to use the orchestration tool to actually monitor the health of the system, the availability of the system. When one of these components fails, we can actually look for spare capacity on the network and restore that high availability so that the system maintains the performance that the customers expect without getting that 2 o'clock in the morning call so that you can go back out and replace that part. It's really whenever you come in, you get that part replaced, and now you have that spare capacity back on the network.
Wow. Now, one of the things, Stan, that we all know coming from the automation business is the one thou shall never have is unscheduled downtime. And we recognize that there are DCS systems, certainly I'll say legacy Foxboro IA series that have been running 30 plus years and have never shut down. So one of the questions I think a lot of the customers may have, of course, is that in this new type of architecture, and where Intel is, certainly is the engine in many cases, the hardware engine of this architecture, and in how this architecture ensures that same level of reliability and durability, and the thou shall never have unscheduled downtime. So just talk about Intel's role in that, and based on the way that the chip is designed, and certainly the architecture and how it's being deployed.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think the key to this has been really the collaboration with Schneider. And I think in today's day and age, it's all about collaborating to solve these really difficult problems like HADA. That was always one of the things, just like you said, that customers would say, well, software defined is great, but what if the system goes down? And working with Schneider and working with their EAE solution and some of their excellent architects and engineers, and working alongside Intel's architects and engineers, they've been able to resolve that issue and really, like Michael said, create a high available solution that we're demonstrating here at ARC. And we can show the failover so that when you do have a failure, the system, the process continues without disruption whatsoever. And if that node may fail, it will continue to fail over. You could even, you can fail it over to edge compute devices, or even, if you needed to, you could fail it over to your server within, a data center, wherever it's located, so that you never have disruption, within your process.
I know, and I know, Michael, it's part of your title, it's open.
Yes.
And, sometimes we used to have a term at ARC when, in the past, open, we would call it as a proprietary open, meaning it's open as long as you stay within the company's ecosystem. But from certainly in my research, it truly looks like that this, Foxboro SDA is really open. Tell us a little bit about why is this truly an open solution and not a proprietary open solution?
Well, I think obviously the collaboration with Intel, but also collaboration with other organizations like universalautomation.org. I think we've taken, you mentioned the word open. I often use the analogy of the phones because I think that's one that most people can relate to. So it's kind of the Apple model where everything Apple works with Apple, and the Android model where it's really about that runtime, but there are a lot of other manufacturers who are supporting that. So through universalautomation.org and also in partnership with Intel, there are other manufacturers who are actually making hardware, whether it's control hardware, I/O hardware, and or software applications, even advanced applications. So through that, we're actually able to incorporate not only the Schneider Electric and the value and the benefits and the experience of the Schneider Electric history with the Foxboro history, but also build on the strengths that come from our other partners, whether they're other hardware manufacturers or companies like Intel. So I think right now, by leveraging the strengths of all of these different companies, we're actually able to achieve something bigger and better than we could achieve on our own.
Yeah, I was going to say, Stan, if you could kind of elaborate, your position on
Yeah, no, it's an exciting opportunity, I think, because it really does create that interoperability for these end customers. They can pick whatever device manufacturer they want, and whoever they have, whether it be Dell or HPE or ASRock or Schneider or whoever the hardware manufacturer is, they can choose the very best product out there. And so it allows for innovation, and in the future, if they need to do upgrades, they can continue to choose the very best product in the market. And that's what we want to enable, is the very best solutions bringing to this industry.
Yeah, I mean, what always excited me about it is just, and I recognize the term of decoupling hardware and software.
Yeah.
Which means that when Intel comes out with upgraded chips, whether it be Schneider Electric, Foxboro comes up with upgraded software, or any of your other ecosystems, the partners in your ecosystem, but that would give you the ability to make sure you have the latest upgrade, no different than on your phones at night when you press the update button and magically they update.
Yeah, well, we might not do it at that same type of speed. Obviously, I think we work in a little more a conservative industry, but it's exactly right. Stan and I were talking. I think one of the things that we are so excited about is it enables customers to adopt technology at the speed of innovation. So when you see something at CES, when you see some new software application or some new way to get better performance or even better efficiency or sustainability out of your system, you can immediately incorporate that into your system. And because it is open, it's one of those kind of things where we're not having to do any customization work within the EcoStruxure Automation Expert and or Foxboro SDA environment.
And as far as, from your perspective, as far as, the whole, obviously decoupling hardware and software, certainly, provides, I think, certainly a big, helps to leverage the benefits that Intel brings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like with our latest processor that I mentioned, Panther Lake, bringing AI to where, we can just quickly layer on, an AI application, into your software-defined automation solution. And that was unheard of before. It was all about just creating a reliable appliance out at the edge. And that was, the objective. Where now, whatever you are trying to achieve, whether it be AI, whether it be the latest security updates, whether it be real-time applications, whatever your use case needs, we can now provide it, immediately upon. It's a quick integration, a quick collaboration between us, and we can actually enable, those new use cases that you need. So the sky's the limit of where we can go with this.
And one of the things that provides such a benefit to the user. If we say how many people are running a PC that has an 8086 or an 8088 microprocessor running Windows XP.
Yeah.
And today you'd laugh at somebody that says, "Oh God, I'm running a 30-year-old PC with 30-year-old technology, and it can't even be supported by software today." So think of the benefits. Talk about some of the benefits that your customers are going to have in the automation industry by using Foxboro SDA.
Well, so there's a couple. I think one of the first things is, and you hit on it, is just because you have those old processors running and they're doing what they're doing, there's no reason to take those out of your infrastructure. They're performing the function that you need, they're giving you the value that you need out of your process. But because it's now an open system, we can actually have different types of hardware that are fit for the right application. So to the point that Stan's making about this new processor, if there are capabilities in there, we could add this new processor as a new compute platform or control platform into Foxboro SDA. And now you have the capabilities of that along with the performance that you've already experienced from the infrastructure. So before, where everything had to be the same hardware because there was only one compute platform, now you can combine different compute platforms and actually have compute platforms that are specifically architected for the applications that you're running. So it's no longer a rip and replace when I want to take benefit of the latest in innovation. It's I can add that onto my system, and in most cases very easily.
Yeah, I mean, you must feel very similar, Stan, based on from the Intel perspective.
Yeah, and I think it really brings. We used to use the word autonomous, autonomous automation, et cetera, and I think that was really a buzzword that was used, but it wasn't reality, where now with products like Panther Lake, it really is a true reality that we can bring to light within the software-defined automation space. And I see no reason why we can't make it a reality here in the really near future. Just like Michael was saying, it used to be where you put an appliance in place and it was 15 plus years. I think now we can really shorten that design cycle a lot to months, possibly years, but we can bring that design cycle where we can continue to just innovate together, and that's through partnerships like what we have with Schneider.
Obviously, for a number of years we've been talking about cybersecurity, and one of the things that people sometimes get nervous about with systems that are perceived as being too open is that make them less cybersecure. But I know you have cybersecurity built into the solution.
Absolutely. This is actually another benefit of SDA, because if we look at our legacy systems, or the systems that we have available today, they were designed from a hardware perspective, and in many cases, some of the systems, as you mentioned before, 30, 40 years old, they were designed before cybersecurity was really a thing. And so as we started to have new requirements and regulations that demanded us to meet cybersecurity standards, it drove us to add cybersecurity on. With systems like Foxboro SDA, we have designed them from the ground up with cybersecurity as one of the cores. This means several things. This means that not only are we designing hardware in a way that can achieve higher levels of cybersecurity that even our current systems are capable of, but that the communication protocols and everything that we use are secure, encrypted protocols, meaning that many of the protocols we have today in current DCS offerings from us and from others actually might not even meet the minimum standards for some of the upcoming cybersecurity requirements that we might see globally.
Yeah, what's the Intel position on?
Yeah, I mean, once again, this is a great opportunity for Schneider to be able to take advantage of some of the capabilities that Intel built into the chip itself. And security is always job one, from Intel. And we actually design that security into the hardware so that there's no, possibility that, within the environment for you to break that security, and when Schneider's able to take advantage of those types of capabilities, it just creates that much more of an opportunity for a secure solution.
You also think in terms of sometimes we joke at our forum, can we get through a sentence without someone saying AI at some point? Sometimes we maybe we were always wondering if we should have like a contest to see who can say AI the most in their presentations or what have you, who wins the AI acronym contest. But for a customer that's saying, okay, down the road, as I'm thinking about, am I going to have to be creating AI agents, and am I going to be, how is this a system, let's say, that's going to, help to support me if I want to start embedding maybe co-pilot type of solutions to help my workers?
Yes, AI is becoming a bit of a buzzword, but you're exactly right. I think customers are looking to how they can leverage technology, we'll just say AI, to be able to get better performance out of their processes. So the platforms that we're talking about being able to put this on, because we've moved to a software-defined environment, now we see what we used to see as a control processor or a controller in a I would say modern system, in an existing DCS, is now a control and compute platform, meaning that we can run those applications when customers are ready at the edge, next to and in the same device as the control algorithms that they're running. So we can actually put them simultaneously so they can run them at the edge, and they can take advantage of that. The nice thing about software defined is that it's platform independent. So as we've said before, when we see that we have that need or the desire to take advantage of some of those software capabilities like an AI type of application, it's really about, do we have the right platform? And I think in our collaboration with Intel, we're making sure that the platforms that we're building today support both the control and the compute, giving the customers the capability. So it not only is possible, it's enabled, and there are actually customers who are using it today.
So your position certainly on that as far as thinking in terms of Intel and AI.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about the future when it comes, especially when we talk about AI. And like the product I've mentioned, Panther Lake, you get a MPU in there with 50 TOPS capability. It has a CPU and a GPU all integrated into the one solution. So it's giving you not only the AI capability that you would need, it's giving you the compute power that you need. It's also giving you the efficiency you need when you need it. So it's not an over-engineered solution. It's the right tool for the job at the right time. And that's where working with Schneider, we're able to actually take that, look at the use cases, and deliver the right solution for the automation market.
I'd actually like to add on to that because I think this is a very important part. So historically, we've always thought of the DCS or the control system, PLC, whatever it may be, as an appliance, and it serves a function. I think one of the things we're recognizing now is the DCS or the automation solution is actually part of the process. So Schneider Electric has spent many years and many research dollars to understand how to optimize processes, how to use things like artificial intelligence to get the best performance out of the process. But now, because we're software defined and we're working with partners like Intel, we can actually start to think about how do we best leverage the platform itself as part of the process in terms of consumption, in terms of utilization. And so now we start to optimize not only the process, but the resources that are consumed in order to execute that process. And it allows us to expand what we can do to achieve sustainability targets, to lower energy consumption, and to make the best use of the resources. Today, most of the control systems, because they are hardware function designed, have many resources that are underutilized. I think in this case, we will be able to make the most of the compute capacity and the control capacity that we have, at the same time simplifying the hardware that's in a customer site, simplifying the technology stack, so the system becomes lighter and it becomes a better contributor to the overall process.
Well, all I can say as we wrap up here is that it sounds as though that you're certainly taking your customers' demands in mind, and also really providing them a very secure solution for their long-term investment. And this seems like a great place for them to begin their investment in openness.
Absolutely, and I would add, I think one of the key things about this partnership, and it's one of the things that's been recognized even by top leadership in our own company, is that as we look forward into where our industry is going, the opportunities and the challenges that we're going to face are not going to be able to be taken on by one company. It really is through these types of collaborations and that openness that we're going to be able to meet the needs of the industry in the future.
It really takes an
absolutely.
ecosystem.
Yes, it does.
Well, Michael, thank you very much. Stan, thank you very much. It was great having Michael Martinez from Schneider Electric and Stan Woody from Intel here today. And this is Craig Resnik from the ARC Advisory Group 30th Annual Orlando Forum. Thank you so much today for listening. Have a great day.